And now, a word from our sponsors.
VonEsper Studios is a multimedia production company in the New York City area specializing in capturing your moments in the forms of audio, video, and photography content. VonEsper Studios Music is the audio production and songwriting division that can create the perfect song for your needs. This is an example of just that. Need a jingle to make you tingle? VonEsper Studios Music is ready to write the hits you need for your project. If you are a singer, performer, business owner, or podcast host, you need great tunes to entice your audience. Or maybe you just need a theme song for yourself. VonEsper Studios is ready to create something to suit your needs. VonEsper Studios is ready to score your car commercial.
Imagine Alice Cooper with about 1/100th the money.
If the Cramps had been a heavy metal band.
Crazy as H, blood-splattered, ear-splitting hilarity.
The Wizard of Oz meets splatter horror films.
The gag is, you're in the splash zone.
You're covered with goo and blood, and if you're not completely soaked, you didn't have a haunted garage show.
It's like going to a horror movie, except it's actually happening.
It's basically walking into the most brutal, gory film right in front of your face.
It was probably the best part of my life.
I think of him as a guy with commitment to his art.
That's Dookie. I mean, he wants to take it as far as he can take it.
You gotta see this band.
Wait a minute, are you gonna get this?
Oh, thank you. Hello, it's me, Kevin Vonesper. Welcome to the VonPod. Wow, it's been a minute since I've had a dedicated episode with a guest. You know, first I had, what did I do? I did an album release show for my new solo record, The Final Boss, which you can still get at Bandcamp. Look, every cover is hand-drawn, and there's an Easter egg in every one of them. So, you know, it's a great coaster. And then what? And then I had my 40th birthday special, my 6-hour stream where my special guest was, my secret guest was Susie Gardner from L7. That was an awesome surprise for everybody. If you missed it, go check it out. What a good birthday gift to myself, right? And now we're back with a regular episode with Jeff Scheel from Gravity Kills, one of the faces and voices of my youth. You know, and I'm sure we'll get all into that as we go along. I'm sure he heard this a lot, like, oh, when I was 10 years old, oh my God. Yeah, I was one of those kids, you know, and I got all my props here. You know, I couldn't find my Mortal Kombat soundtrack. I know I have it, or I had it somewhere. I did find my DVD. So there's that, you know. Yeah. This is going to be fun. Remember, you know, this is live show, so you can comment and ask questions and interact with us. Anything can happen here on the VonPod. If you don't know me, if it's your first time here, I'm Kevin Vonesper. I'm a musician, photographer, and videographer from the New York City area. You may know me from being member 237 of the, here's a 90s nostalgia band for you, Green Jello. Yes, I'm a member of Green Jello, if you didn't know that. And it sounds impressive that I'm number 237, right? Until you find out that I just met 1016 this year. So, yeah, we're still playing. We're actually going to be playing May 3rd on a boat around Manhattan with the Tool tribute band Schism, which is very interesting because Tool is a band that started because they were in Green Jello together back in the 90s. So I've done one of these boat shows before, and the only thing that sucks is when that thing leaves the dock, nobody else can come to your show. So you better get there on time or you'll be swimming to it. I recommend nobody jump into the Hudson River. Okay, enough of me babbling. Should we get to it? I think. Let me get the theme song up, and I'll see you in about 40 seconds. VonPod. Welcome to VonPod. I've got chicken heads and deli creeps, scary monsters and super creeps on VonPod. You're listening to VonPod. With aliens and skunk dogs, I hope you're here to chat along to VonPod. You can watch and chat with us live. Like and share and subscribe. It's always a surprise. You're watching VonPod. VonPod. Hello, Jeff Scheel.
Hey, what's happening, man?
What's up? What's up?
I'm here.
You are here. Thank you very much for being here. This is oh man, you know, I usually start these out with like a personal touch, like a story that we have together or an experience we had together. But I was too young to ever see you guys. You know, what, you disbanded in 2002 originally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let's see. I was in high school, so yeah, I was just too young to like get into the clubs at that time.
Where were you? Where'd you go to high school? Where were you?
In the suburbs of New York.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, where I am now.
Yeah. The last New York show was with Seven Dust at the Hammerstein.
Yeah, I've seen some good shows there. I've seen the Pixies there a few times. Marilyn Manson, who I saw there once. That's a big room.
Yeah, pretty big room.
That was going to be one of my questions at some point. Since I don't have a personal connection in that respect, I do love to hear New York City show stories. Do you have any good New York City stories?
Man, I don't know. You know, I mean, it's probably more this is my best New York City show story. It's a story that I wasn't playing though.
Okay, sure.
And it was at the Hammerstein.
Okay.
And I was in town. We'd had meetings with Sanctuary, you know, Third Record's part of BMG.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in town having meetings and went to see Perfect Circle. And I was standing at Gloria, our manager, she was managing the band that was opening. So I was standing in front of house, standing in a mixed position. And, you know, those people kept looking at me like, you know, they're like, they knew, like, they're like, hey, this is somebody. And so finally somebody figured it out and they're like, hey, you know, hey, you're Jeff from Gravity Kills. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, whatever happened to you guys? And
yeah, where are you now? VH1, right. Where are you now?
Yeah, and so I'm like, hey, you know, we're in town, we'll have a record out. This is about 2000, early 2001.
What was the opening band?
What did it just go blank on it? I'll remember it at some point.
Perfect Circle, they're back touring again too.
Yeah, which is really cool. I love that band.
Maynard, who started in Green Jello.
Yeah, and I love that band more than Tool. You know, we never get into those kinds of things, but anyway, so the
hey, I love Josh Freese. Anything he does, I'll listen to it.
Yeah, so that's, I don't know. I mean, New York City shows were always.
Where did you play? Like Irving Plaza?
Irving Plaza, yeah.
Yeah,
that's where we would always play, and then we played early on. We played. Was it a place called the Continental? I think maybe.
Wait, the tiny bar on Avenue A?
Yeah.
Really, you played there?
Yeah,
that place is small.
Yeah, but that was when our first record literally had been out 2 weeks.
Yeah, it must have been because that seems like a small.
Yeah, and so we played there, and then the next time.
With there? Do you remember?
Yeah, we played with Sister Machine Gun there. And then the next time we were in town, we played at a place called Tramps.
I don't know about.
And
I've definitely had 5 shots for $10 at the Continental though.
Right on. Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
and that was a place that I mean if you drop something on the floor, you're probably just better off leaving it there. But
It's gone now.
Yeah, all those great places
Yeah.
are, and
R.I.P.
it's so
You ever play CBGBs?
No.
No,
and never stepped foot in there either. I mean, it's we did 2 records in New York City where we were basically living there for months on end, and never of course walked past it and probably have pictures of it somewhere in a box, but never stepped foot in there. And
saw a couple shows there. I saw Mindless Self-Indulgence there once, and I saw the Bad Brains there once.
Yeah, I guess other shows saw this is like before our first record was out. Saw as while we were making the record. Saw Machines of Loving Grace at Limelight.
Oh wow. I've only been there as a mall.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's a mall now. I used to work like across the street from it basically.
And then I saw oh man, I just blacked out on that too. I saw a band at the Academy. It was during CMJ, back when they used to do all that stuff. But anyway, so they, we would play. We usually play Irving Plaza, and then and we would play a show in New Jersey, probably.
Maxwell's or
mid New Jersey. No, we'd play in Old Bridge, and I don't remember the name of the venue. But
I could tell you that was Birch Hill nightclub. Yep.
Yeah, and then because I guess it was somewhere between Philly and New York City.
Yeah.
So
different market for sure.
Yeah, so the East Coast were always I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of cool. I don't know. The New York City shows always were. Silverchair is the band that I saw at the Academy.
Oh, cool.
But anyway,
really young.
This was 90. Well, it was 95.
Yeah, they were like teenagers, weren't they?
Yeah, and it was still when the drummer kind of sort of had a physical likeness in the way he played to like Dave Abruzzese from formerly of Pearl Jam. But the New York City shows were always crazy. In fact, I was talking to my wife earlier about interviews that because in New York City you just do press all day. That's all you do.
Yeah.
And you may have a day.
Must have been just like a blur.
Yeah. It is a blur. I mean, and then you would get to the show. Like maybe you did press all day. That may have included going to do some segment on MTV or something, and then you do the show, and then you might have press after the show till 1 or 2 in the morning. So. We did get to play Roseland Ballroom. That was with the Sex Pistols.
We're gonna talk about that for sure.
All right, and then that was a pretty interesting experience. And then
Roseland, that's not even there anymore.
No, I know, it's pretty sad. Yeah, there's a lot of those venues that are.
I saw Josh Freese play there with Weezer once.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's the rundown of the New York City stuff.
And I saw. Well, there's another topic I want to touch on later, but I saw David Bowie there once.
Oh, at Roseland?
Yeah, it was like a fan club show.
That's super cool. I only saw Bowie one time, and it was it was a big outdoor show. It was in Dallas. It was like a shed show. Just a standard amphitheater.
Let's jump into Bowie now. We're talking about it. I know because I've heard you and I kind of deep dive interviews with you this week, and I know you're a big fan of like the same era I am, like the Earthling kind of era.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a forgotten era for a lot of people, and for whatever reason.
That's what was current to me at the time. Like that's the Bowie I knew first because I was like, that came out in like 96. I was like 12 or 97 maybe.
Yeah, 97 I think is when that record hit. Yeah.
13 or something like that. So I knew that before I knew the classic stuff.
That's crazy. Yeah. So I've got an older sister and I'm infinitely older than you. So my older sister had had sort of the Changes one compilation greatest hits thing that came out probably in the late 70s.
I got a slide for this.
Yeah, and what turned me onto that record, we were in Europe touring, and over the first record over there was on Virgin Records. Yeah,
Okay.
we weren't on TVT.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Outside of the United States, we were TVT would license our records,
Mhm.
and so we would get to go, like when we were in London and we go into the Virgin office, they had a big closet full of CDs, and you just go in and whatever you could fit in your backpack.
Mm-hmm.
TVT would let us do that too. They never wanted us to have the wax tracks, the black box set. They never wanted us to take those, but I think I've got 5 of them or something.
eBay.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, they're out in the garden shed right now. Who knows if they even play anymore? But I haven't played a CD. I don't even know. I don't have anything to play a CD on.
I know, it's so hard to sell CDs these days. That's why I call this a nice coaster, because it's like I try to give them out. They're like, I don't even have a CD player anymore.
Yeah, and more people have vinyl. If somebody play vinyl, more people have a turntable and something to play a CD on. So
that's what I did today.
Oh, you actually got one of those.
Oh, yeah, right. I got one. Let me show everybody how beautiful this thing is.
Yeah, which one? Oh, you got the blue
I got the
one.
blue one, yeah.
Yeah, that's the cool
one. Matches my eyes,
Right on. Yeah, that was, I mean, and there's a whole store behind even all that. I mean, getting that whole thing going was a fucking nightmare.
I'm sure we'll retread some territory, but I'm going to try to ask you stuff that you haven't talked about a million times.
All right.
I'll try. I'm going to try.
Yeah.
First, I had another slide I wanted to show in relevance to our conversation. No, it's not you. It's not you.
Good.
This is somebody I met last month. It's Reeves Gabrels.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
I saw him play with his improv acid jazz trio, and there was only like 35 people there. It was
nuts. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, we're already getting questions here.
Yeah. So this is my brother. He's like the biggest Reeves fan. And he was saying, he played on a Sister Machine Gun album. And yes, maybe I did. Maybe that's why I don't have it anymore. Go check your collection.
I've got the behind me. You can actually see if you look behind me, there's a.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the Mortal Kombat Platinum record.
I found my DVD. That's
and
I could do.
And back there, I've actually got the cassette.
Nice.
That the TVT.
Oh yeah, that was TVT, wasn't it?
It was TVT. Yeah, that's how we got. Let's
talk about Mortal Kombat, because I mean, Jesus, talk about pop culture, like being at the right place at the right time. Isn't that like the best-selling soundtrack like ever or something like that?
Yeah, probably one of them. Without getting into like, a movie like Beaches or something like that. But. Now, I'm dating myself. You're like, what the fuck is that movie? But it's Bette Midler is in that. So anyway,
right.
So the Forrest Gump soundtrack or something. But
I think Mortal Kombat was like probably, I don't know. There was something special about that one.
What was cool about that was when we got on that, we weren't officially signed with TVT at this point, right. And I was working a day job in Dallas, and I got a call from Steve Gottlieb, who's the owner of TVT Records, and we had already come to terms with them. Like we hadn't, the deal wasn't officially signed yet, but it was happening. At this point, lawyers are just sucking money out of things.
Eat your heart out, Steve. Right.
They're just bouncing paper back and forth. So when Steve calls and he's like, "Hey," and I do an impersonation if there was anybody, a former TVT employee that was watching this, but I'm not going to. But it was Steve Gottlieb. He's kind of. It was more of a Mr. Bill, and that's another reference you don't get from Saturday Night Live before you were born. But anyway, so So he calls and he's like, "Hey, man, Mortal Kombat, we're looking to put something together." And there was a story even behind that. That Sony/Columbia Records was supposed to do that soundtrack. And soundtrack albums are tough to make tough to get out because the music's usually the last thing dealt with in a movie, especially back then, because they're trying to put things in there that will, to use a more modern term, will trend for them. Trying to find bands that will sort of, connect to their audience and with what's going on. So Columbia Records basically said, we don't have enough time to turn this record around. And little TVT Records came in, and then that's why there's a lot of TVT and Wax Tracks acts on that soundtrack. And I didn't want to do it, which is funny now.
What were you thinking?
Right. And I'll tell you what I was thinking, because I was like, because I wasn't, this was 1995. I wasn't, I didn't play the video game. And I was like, oh, this is going to be some sort of little kiddie movie or something. And I didn't understand sort of the cult appeal of all of that. I guess if there was a Fortnite movie out now or something,
it was the first bloody video game, really. It was like the first adult video game, I guess.
Yeah. So Steve was like, it'll be really good for your publishing. Because, when you're talking, a band gets, statutory's 9 cents a song or whatever. And, the thing sells a couple million copies. I don't know that it sold 2 million, it sold well over 1 million. So, a dime every time the thing sells, basically, or close to. And, so that was all before, we got on that. And then 7 was a completely different story. I mean, 7 was, we were still in St. Louis, and we were getting ready to go to New York City to finish the record with John Fryer. And John had flown into St. Louis, because we were still trying to record songs. We're still writing songs at this point. So, New Line, because we already had a relationship, and New Line, and they knew we were in the studio. TVT knew that we were working and they knew John was in town. So New Line reaches out to TVT and says, hey, you got anybody that could maybe turn around opening credit sequence?
Right.
And I didn't have anything to do with it. I'm going to be completely honest. It was Doug and John sitting in a room. They sent down a VHS copy of the opening credit sequence. And then, even at the time, we had the technology in our, sort of, if you want to call it a home studio, but it was, pretty overwhelmingly huge home studio. It was a studio in a house. So it was basically, but anyway, so they turned it around on a weekend, sent it back. And then, because they had been in negotiation with Trent for that remix of Closer. That is in the opening credit sequence. And so they came back and they said, oh yeah, sorry, but TVT was like, oh, well, here, use this song. And so that's how Guilty got in. But the opening credit sequence, the forward to our first record is that score.
Oh, I'd see. That's a detail I've never heard before. Yeah. So now I got to sync it up.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Yeah. And I don't know if we may have trimmed it or something. And I was talking to Doug about it. We wanted to put that in our show in St. Louis, but
the recent one.
Yeah, the November 11 one. Yeah. But then we're like, it's fine to sort of ask for forgiveness versus, using that footage, is kind of a no-no. I mean, and so, and I kept pushing, because Kurt, our drummer, was dealing with all the video content. He had a guy, I'm sorry, I've got email up. You heard a ding. So anyway, so we just didn't use it, because what would they have done?
Rob Zombie does it. He puts movies clips in his show.
Yeah, I know, and it would have been really cool. Because I don't think, like you never knew that, and most people don't know that. And
Right.
and we even have a digital version of the opening credit sequence. We actually have like, and we could have done it and we didn't. And it kind of sucks that we didn't do it, but because the way we lined the show out, it could have been really cool. But anyway, who knows? Maybe we'll do it something in the future.
I won't tell them.
Yeah, right on. Even if we did it, what are they going to do? They just send us a letter and go, stop it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I feel like if you were filming it and then distributing it, that would probably be a whole different thing.
Right.
I wanted to circle back to Mortal Kombat for a minute.
Yeah, let's do it.
I heard that the bands all signed a contract that you only got paid up to a certain number of units. I don't know if that's true or not.
If that's true, I never signed a document that stated that.
Maybe you got lucky, because I know one of the bands on that slipped through the cracks, and he was like, "No, motherfucker, you owe us for every one of those," because I didn't sign that contract. They like forgot. It's like big deal for this band because they were not very famous,
Yeah, and all that. I think we had an advantage there too, because TVT ended up being our publisher as well, which was a good move for us because we had the Mortal Kombat soundtrack 7, obviously, and later we had Escape from LA.
Yeah, I have that one. That's one I got.
Yeah, that was a really cool soundtrack, and
that was a good one.
And so,
Tools on it. It's like,
it was.
White Zombie, Stabbing Westward, everyone. Ministry's on here. Holy shit. The Deftones, wow. It's like really ahead of the curve, this one.
Yeah, we played the movie premiere. And,
cool.
And it was,
who else played that?
We were the only band.
Oh, okay.
And because we had the single, they picked us and they did a remix of Blind for the single that they ran on MTV for, to promote the movie. And but the funniest part of that was, one, the movie fucking sucked. I mean,
7?
No, 7's an awesome movie.
Escape from New York.
Escape from LA. Horrible fucking movie.
I watched it once.
Yeah, it's horrible. And
it's funny, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of
like
right.
A movie.
Well, and that's really what the whole movie was about. It was about John Carpenter and Kurt Russell was sort of making fun of Los Angeles.
Right. I mean, it's basically a remake of the first one.
Yeah, but it's campier than Escape from New York.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like isn't that Steve Buscemi's in it or something?
Yeah, and it's more tongue in cheek and
characters.
Right, like the doctor who's doing all the plastic surgery and all the crazy shit.
I don't know. It's been a long time.
Right. And don't torture yourself to go back to watch it. But so the movie was horrible. But so we're playing the premiere, and it's at the famous Chinese theater there on Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles, and you got a stage set up and all this shit, and we're playing as people are coming out.
He's got it.
And the funny thing about it was we're playing, and Michael Stipe for some reason is there, but all he does is just he walks by the stage, just shaking his head.
At you or the movie?
Oh, at us, absolutely at us. Yeah, that was the impression we left on Michael Stipe. So, because we're up there trying to perform like we're doing a show at Irving Plaza or doing a show wherever, right? Trying to get these people to pay attention to us, but they don't. These people don't give a shit. They went to the premiere. It was either they were in the movie, they worked on the movie, they were going to write about the movie.
Did REM have something to do with it? They're not
that I know of. Not that I know of, but I think he was already. I think he was. Who knows? Who knows if he. Maybe he knew somebody with the. With the company, or who the fuck knows. But he was there, and it was really funny and something that the band still laughs about.
Yeah,
because despite. Maybe like you, my musical influences kind of come from everywhere. And, REM, very early REM, was sort of, when my musical taste started coming out, because I'm much older than you, and I was listening to bands like Rush and Black Sabbath. And, and then I started listening to bands like Devo and Duran Duran and Depeche Mode, and then and on part of that,
The people call you New Wave. Hey, New Wave.
right, and so
like that Descendants song.
Yeah, so REM was, they were a band that, they were, sort of a pre-alternative band, and so
I liked Monster. I liked What's the Frequency, Kenneth?
Yeah, and I'll probably go back a little earlier than super early stuff, but then because it was it wasn't.
You like him with hair.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, that band's amazing live, and too bad they don't do shows. It's like
never got to see him. Yeah,
amazing live band, and that's really like I kind of liked REM, but then I saw REM live, I was like, fuck, this is really the delivery live. You kind of got it at that point, and I'm not going to make this about REM tonight, but super impressive. And if you didn't get to see him, it's like not getting to see, of course, you'll never get to see David Bowie live. I mean, that was.
Oh, you never got to see him?
No, I did. I saw him on the.
You saw that one.
I saw him on the Sound and Vision tour.
Okay. Yeah.
Where it was kind of a greatest hits. Adrian Belew was playing guitar, and so.
Yeah, he's about to do this King Crimson tour. My brother's gonna go see with Danny Carey playing drums.
Oh, is
and Steve Vai on guitar.
Is John Wetton gonna be?
Tony Levin is the other guy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a 4-piece, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no Robert Fripp or anything.
No, I don't know if those guys. I don't know. I don't know the story there, but I think it's just the 4 of them.
Yeah, I mean, without Robert Fripp, then the Police don't happen. But we're not talking about the Police they don't sound like the Police if Robert Fripp didn't
Jane
exist.
Jensen's in the house. Do you remember Jane Jensen?
You know what? I met Jane, and we were playing. This is '97.
I know she told me there was a story with you guys. So
and
I'm asking you now.
We played a show with it was a radio festival kind of show.
Mm-hmm.
And we played, and their tour manager was a guy named John Shy, and John was out with Sister Machine Gun. We had met John when we were out with Sister Machine Gun, and so he was out with Jane, and I mean, this was a weird gig because bands like the Nixons were on the show, Presidents of the United States of America on the show. Wow. Candlebox, I think they were on that show. They were on a '96 show we did at Sunken Garden. This was in San Antonio. So anyway,
I loved that first Candlebox record.
And so everybody was staying at the same hotel.
Mm.
So it was so it was just this big crazy, frat sorority party thing going on. That night, and people were just mean. It was it was just like I felt bad for for anybody who had booked a room at that hotel that wasn't part of a rock band that night, didn't get much sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And met Jane then, and and now sort of running. Sort of this peripheral way, kind of run in the same, know the same people. I think she's a little bit more entrenched. I know that she's far more entrenched in, with more of the Wax Trax peeps in the Chicago area.
We're going to talk about Martin Atkins too. Yeah, and that whole crew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to stay on we're going all over the place, but it's all.
Hey man, I meander.
Yeah, no, it's cool because it's all topics I wanted to get to anyways. I mean, if you want to skip right there, I did want to talk about Martin Atkins did help produce one of your records, and what was it like working with him? And does that automatically make you a member of Pigface?
It did make me a member of Pigface. We did the Preaching to the Perverted tour with them in 2001. And it was crazy. And
I think I started seeing them just right after that.
We met Martin when we were on the Sex Pistols tour, and we were at the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago. and Martin, of course, played in Public Image Limited.
Mm-hmm.
So he was there, and we met Martin, and Martin did a remix. It's on Manipulated, a White Light remix
I got my props.
Enough.
My
there you
props.
go.
Yeah.
And so when we were trying to figure out finishing the third record, and we'd called Martin, and you want to know what it was like working with Martin. Martin fucking pushed my buttons.
Okay. Is that good or bad?
I think it was, for me, vocally, it was really good. I think Martin, Martin had a way of strategically isolating me and picking on me that I know was intentional. Now, at the time, I mean, we'd have words, and like, because at the time, like we were finishing the record in his studio in Chicago, which was, he lived in this building.
Mm-hmm.
And so the band was staying in a bedroom in his house. And so his wife was making us dinner every night, not every night, but I think one night was, we'd have one night was pizza night. That was back when Little Caesars kind of ramped up, and they'd have their $5 pizza night or whatever, and so we would, so we're eating with them, and we'd have knockdown, drag out, like screaming matches at each other in front of his kids, and his boys, were tiny. There was a little, and so he was a guy that would, like, he would get me to do the strangest things. Like we'd be doing a track, and you go, "Oh, okay, Jeff," do his thing, and say, "Go, ooh, ooh, baby, he'd like, I'm going, what the fuck is he like? He'd do these little things to me all the time, like trying to kind of pull me out of wherever my comfort zone was. And and I'd try shit, and I'd just get super pissed off. And then he'd go, okay, now, and then he'd move to the chorus, and we start doing choruses. And of course they were, it'd be like, just, the emotion was right there. Plus the building that we did it in, it was a funeral home.
So this is the album we're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were, so we would, we were working where I did vocals, where anybody that worked in a studio did vocals, was the embalming room.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
And you would just get freaked out in there, because what doing a record, what doing records is like. I mean, we were working so much. We had a guy, Julian Beeston, who, he was in Die Krupps, Cuban 8. He was in Nitzareb. This is back, Nitzareb touring the Showtime record when they were opening for Depeche Mode. And I saw that tour, and of course, never knew that I would meet Julian. But anyway, so Martin just was, Martin had a way of really getting the best out of me vocally. And we worked with Rolly Mosselman on Perversion, and Rolly was a bit more laissez-faire when it came to that stuff. And at the time, Rolly was going through a divorce too, so I was taking time away from. Rolly didn't really push me that way. And of course, on the first record, being virtual, we retracked a bunch of vocals with John Fryer, but John was more like, working with John was more like, hey, except in a British accent, like,
do it.
No, he'd be like, he'd just look at me like, you're going to live with that? Like, he'd just give me these looks like.
Oh, so that's what you were guilty of.
Yeah. Well, guilty is the one thing that we did not replace when we finished the record with John. That's the one vocal we didn't touch, because we're like, we're not fucking touching that. So anyway, but Martin was, and Martin is a great musician. He's a great drummer. Yeah. And I love Martin.
I met him a couple times.
I think Martin at the time, even though we'd had success, when you look at guys like Martin, you know, you still kind of like, when you're working with them, you're still sort of like, oh shit, I'm working with Martin Atkins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're still kind of, you know, we never got to the
He's in the head like a whole video.
Right. All that shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, and even working with John Fryer, who, you know, worked on Pretty Hate Machine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you know, just working with guys like that, you'd have to pull yourself out of being a fan.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that's the relationship I had with, you know, John sort of, you know, John, and I still stay in touch with John as well. And, you know, I did a track with him, what was it now, 2 years ago, when we went into, you know, when Russia went into Ukraine, and we did a track for like you know, refugee relief. But yeah, Martin just had a way of pushing me into the right places.
In the wrong ways.
But in the very right ways, because he like you know, he must have been he must have, you know, studied psychology at some point or something. He really knew how to mind fuck me. And,
well, you know what? It's because he knows Johnny Rotten.
No, and it was and John, and I get that too. Being around John Lydon was, you know.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to that yet. Mm-hmm. Well, let me try to stay. Okay, I want to ask you this about Superstar before we move on. So he came in later. I know the story of this record sort of is you had like just a ton of songs, and there's probably like at least an album's worth of songs that didn't even make it, that are just pretty much done somewhere. I know. I heard the demo. That's like all the demos that are out there. And everything.
Yeah, there's demos everywhere, right?
Did you like have to go to someone like him to like pull it all together? Like, what was?
Yeah,
was it all in like a chaos or something?
Well, we'd had a member leave, and we had switched record labels in the middle of making the record.
What's this on? BMG?
Yeah. And
Sanctuary.
Yeah, and so there was a lot of shit going on, and at that point too, we didn't have any perspective.
Right.
You know, we were trying to do this thing. We're doing a record we don't even know if anybody's going to fucking hear. You know, so we really needed somebody just to come in and say, okay, this track. I was
going to say, like, did he pick the songs? Like,
for the most part.
From how many? I don't know. How many songs did you have? And then it ended up being just like 10.
At that point, probably 34, 35 songs.
Wow.
And so he just came in and just, we were paralyzed, I think, at that point. You know, the three of us, you know, Matt, Doug, and myself, were just paralyzed, and we didn't know really who we were as a band. You know, we didn't know what our identity was anymore. When you leave, I've talked to people about this. When you have a member of a band leave, things change. Sometimes, you know, some bands love, it's like, oh, we cut this cancer out or whatever the fuck it is. Kurt wasn't a cancer. I mean, Kurt was the guy that could conceptualize, help me, if I'm writing lyrics or something, we could sit down and we could talk about it. Like, okay, what's this fucking song really about? Or what are you trying to say, Jeff? Well, if you're saying that, why can't you say this? And he's the guy that wrote the guitar riff to Guilty, I mean, he was, so losing him was like cutting off one of your arms. And we had gone through, we were like kind of more of a, the first record is kind of more of a straight ahead kind of, if you want to call it an industrial record, it's kind of that thing.
Definitely tinged, yeah.
Right. And then we got into, God damn, go away. And then, we do Perversion, which we wanted to completely reject everything we fucking did on the first record. It's like, sorry, TVT, you're not fucking getting Guilty too.
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, what, because, obviously, the story of your band, the first record was kind of like a studio group that turned into a band, right?
Yeah.
And then now that you're a band and you have toured, how did that change the mindset of the band going into another record?
Whew. Lots of ways, because success, the first record, of course, very successful, especially for a band in the genre we were in that we were told we were never going to be on MTV or
You were on MTV all
a
the
lot.
time,
Right?
That's why I just remember. That's pretty much what I did. I just turned on the TV and MTV all the time, and just Gravity Kills all the time.
Yeah. So we were told we weren't going to be one of those bands, and so we had a lot of success. We toured the world and did all this shit. But then I think, we had, when we were in Europe in 97, we were really gobbling up at the time. People were calling this genre electronica.
Right.
And you can really,
that was a big thing right back then.
Yeah.
Prodigy and all that stuff.
Yeah. Prodigy. Yeah. I had Fat of the Land before it was released here.
Great
before it was
record,
released in the States. Yeah.
Samples the Breeders. Holy shit.
Right. And we actually got a radio station in trouble. Easter weekend, because the record, they were getting ready to go with, it was Breathe. Was that the?
Yeah.
Right. That was the big single. And
Psychosomatic had a good say.
Right. And we got KPNT in St. Louis to play it before, back then, they had these impact dates for singles and they wanted shit to, so we got our friend to play it, and they got in trouble from the record. The record was like, fucking don't do that. We'll tell you when to start playing it. But yeah, so we kind of gobbled all that stuff up. And also at the time here in the States, there are bands like Chemical Brothers, Death in Vegas. I mean, we could just kind of keep naming.
Oh yeah, it was a whole trend back then.
And that's really, I think, we're at times you can really hear those influences in that record. And I think that in the record label was severely disappointed, because I think they wanted something a little bit more straight ahead. But that was also, I think that's also where we kind of felt comfortable as a live act too, because
was it more of a live band situation?
It became more.
Was there live drums on that one?
On the second, at times.
That's
There's a couple.
There's no
tracks.
live drums on the first record, right?
There are.
There are?
Yeah. Down and Never.
Okay.
They're two.
It was definitely more prominent once you became like a live band.
Yeah, and so that we sort of started making that migration, and and so with Perversion, I think it was just Steve Gottlieb actually said it was like it sold about maybe about a third of what the first record sold, but Steve Gottlieb told us to our face, like, that's the record you guys needed to make.
Sure.
Because we needed, I think Steve Gottlieb, and I can say this, and Steve will never see this shit. So, I've had, of course, a love-hate. I have a love-hate relationship with Steve Gottlieb. But one of the things that Steve, because Steve wanted to be Jimmy Iovine.
You have to tell me who that is.
Jimmy Iovine's the guy that fucking, like, one time owned the music business, like Beats headphones. He produced like Tom Petty records. He produced Fleetwood Mac records.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about Sound City, right?
And if you ever heard Interscope, the label Interscope, that was his record label.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so Jimmy Iovine's responsible for pulling Trent Reznor away from TVT and creating Nothing Records. So that's how you know Jimmy Iovine.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, so Steve Gottlieb was an entrepreneur. He wasn't a music guy. He wanted so desperately to be known as a music guy. And so I think he saw that in us, at times, like, I don't know why, like, maybe it was the time. I cared more about Jason Pettigrew from Alternative Press liking a record than like some of these cool people who, are or writing questions and talk. They're in there talking to each other actually, but and
I'll get to the comments. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Just keep them coming. I'll get to them eventually.
I wanted to be, I wanted I wanted to have some credibility. We came out of fucking nowhere.
Right.
And even in St. Louis, we didn't have any fucking credibility. We came out of nowhere. There were bands.
No, you were living in Dallas, weren't you?
Yeah, I was living in Dallas at the time.
You weren't even like a local there.
And so we just on all levels, we were kind of like, with the Chicago Wax Trax people, we were somewhat rejected. I think in hindsight, or in a revisionist kind of way, I think those bands and those people have kind of come to accept us, and and I've befriended a lot of those people, and I did the Pigface 25-year reunion in 2016, and we did Guilty, and cool. And to have a Pigface crowd, sold out House of Blues Chicago, singing every word to fucking Guilty. One, it was really cool, and two, I was like, yeah, some of you fucking people hated my band.
Right.
And so that's what I wanted. We wanted us at times. And, instead of just, the first record, we were just fucking writing music, and, we were like Mr. Magoo. We were just fucking stumbling forward, and we had this weird confidence, like we just knew, like, oh, this fucking band's going to happen. Just knew, you just fucking felt it. And I'd been in bands forever, and I'd never had that feeling before. And I'd known these guys for years and never done a record with them. So, and all infinitely.
One of them's your cousin, right?
Yeah, Kurt. In fact, I bounced some texts with him today because
cool.
He and I are, three of us are working on material independently, and we're sending ideas to each other, and we constantly text each other with, hey, what if you try this on that track you sent me, or maybe look at it this way. And he and I were bouncing some texts.
Well, that answers one question.
He was actually at the Cardinals home opener today. And if you're a baseball fan, if you're in New York, maybe you are, maybe you're not. But anyway, so that's what we wanted. I wanted fucking credibility. And that's what Perversion, I think, did for the band. Because if you ask a hardcore Gravity Kills fan what their favorite record is, fucking Perversion.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I think maybe because they felt like it belonged to them more, as opposed to, the kid that was shopping at the fucking record store at the mall who liked our band.
Did you do that Personal Jesus before Marilyn Manson?
I did.
Yeah.
We did.
Two trendsetters too.
We did it. There's a fucking story behind that. I'll tell
Were you like fucking guy ripping us off?
No, I kind of no, of course not, because but Manson's got his own aesthetic and vibe.
Well, that was all Tim Scold, I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I did it for therapy. Actually, we were in the middle of doing all those songs for Superstarved, and
that's on Superstarved, not Perversion.
Right, it's on Superstarved.
Okay, my bad.
But here's the story behind that. We were in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We use technology on stage. We use more technology now than we ever did. Like, it's amazing now. I mean, you're running shows with fucking tons of technology now because you got lighting and video and you got all the shit. So we were having some issues, and my production manager, we're in Pittsburgh, comes out on stage with an acoustic guitar and says, "Play something."
Uh-huh.
And I started, and for Depeche Mode fans out there, they know that there's an acoustic version of Personal Jesus on the Personal Jesus maxi single.
Back when people had singles.
Right. Back and had maxi singles.
And maxi singles.
Right.
I know, it's funny. Your single for your first song is longer than your album.
Right. Right. And probably, and Manipulated is probably longer than.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I just started playing it, and I didn't sing Personal Jesus. I sang Personal Demons, and fucking crowd just went off. And so we just kept it in the set.
Yeah.
And which led us into me doing, sometimes I would just sit there and fuck around with an acoustic guitar it made our show, which was, you know, when you're using a lot of electronics, what made our show very unique for our you know, compared to our contemporaries, was that moment in the night, because it was just me and a fucking acoustic guitar.
It's like your Sammy Hagar moment.
Yeah, or or whoever, you know, it was my singer-songwriter Jason Mraz moment, you know, whatever. And we were just, you know, and I would just do shit. And so this is about in 99, and I just needed a break. I was like, you know, we were in the, I don't know, who knows, maybe we're at song 24 by now or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I just need to do something recording wise. It's like, that is just fucking fun. Like, that I can get back in touch with why the fuck I started doing this shit to begin with. And of course it's like, okay, I'm going to do a cover, because I'm not going to sit, I've been writing music by now, I've been writing music for a year and a half or whatever the fuck it was. And so I just, you know, I did it. I started it, basically I did it in same program that I use now. I use Logic.
Same here.
Yeah, Doug's a Ableton guy. Kurt uses Logic.
Yeah, because Ableton, you can sync with all the lights and stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And Matt uses Matt's old school. He's a Pro Tools guy. But I'm even older.
I'm all Logic here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all Logic. But back then I was using Logic 5 when it was owned by a company called eMagic. It wasn't owned by Apple at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I had 32 tracks.
Right. Yeah. You used to be limited.
Right. Because,
even digitally.
And and so I did I got most of the track done, and, you know, and Matt needed a little therapy too. So I called Matt, said, Matt, come down to the studio. And, you know, we sat and he did some guitars, and then, you know, kind of sat with me while I was doing some electronic shit. He was like, hey, that's good, and that sucks, or that's great, and don't ever do that again, or whatever he was saying to me. And
what kind of electronics were you using?
Basically,
like, what kind of equipment were you using for electronics back then?
That, oh my God, back then we were using, I mean, name the keyboard company, and we had it. I mean, you know, we were using everything from Novation to Nord to, oh man.
So it was still like not just on the computer. You were still touching an instrument.
Yeah, we're still playing things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, virtual. We had like an Access virus. And, you know, but we had, you know, we just had the module. We didn't have
virus. That's that industrial sound,
right? Yeah, and the Nord. Everybody was using Nords back then. We didn't. That was the only track. Strangely enough, that's the only track a Nord appears on any Gravity Kills record. Everybody was using Nord back then. I mean, you know, Nails used.
Got to go up against the grain, you know.
Yeah, Stabbing. You know, Westward was. Walter was using a Nord, and so of course, but I just used it for the. If you've heard the demo of that,
yeah.
I just used it for that bass arpeggio. That's all I used. Everything else was, you know, something else, some other box that I just brought in and just try to make it sound funky or whatever I did. So, but we didn't take a lot of time, and that's what was fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're making records. At that point, you're just fucking tired of trying to make bad decisions, because that's what you felt like you were doing.
And it made the record out of all those songs that you had.
And it's the reason we got to finish the record.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because we serviced it to, we had radio friends everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we, at the alternative station in Portland, Oregon, a station called KNRK, it was like a top 5 phone record. You know, just the demo.
Mm-hmm.
And we were getting specialty airplay all over the country with it, because we just had friends and we say, hey, can you just throw this in your Sunday night show, just to let people know we're still
Was the
alive.
record label cool with that, or were they mad at you?
We weren't on a record label. We were in between labels. We were, we spent 6 months going from TVT to Sanctuary BMG. So that's why we didn't know if anybody was going to fucking, you know, we're making a record. I don't know if anybody's going to hear. So we did that. It kind of catapulted. You know, it gave us momentum to finish the record, because I think especially for Matt and I think it really, it cleansed our palate, and it was, and we did something we thought was cool, and it wasn't as deep. Like Doug Furley, fucking like his thought process for music is not linear. It is fucking 3-dimensional. And so when you get in a session with him, if you're doing keyboards, if you're doing guitars, whatever it is, it's not just about, okay, this is the part and we can hear it or whatever. It's like, well, I need the part behind the part behind the part behind the part.
Mm-hmm.
And and by the way, there's another part that we're going to put on behind that part. Like
Deep.
It was just, and that's how he fucking liked doing records. And it gave the band at times, very unique sound. He was definitely the guy behind all that, but it just made it. I mean, at times you're just like, fuck, we were doing shit for, you felt like it was for absolutely no fucking reason. And when you're doing that kind of stuff, and you've been in sessions like that, right? Where you're fucking like, you're just going, and at some point you just lose, for me anyway, if I'm in the studio longer than probably 3 hours working on one particular thing, I just lose complete perspective.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have that I generally always record at home. So, but just, I have songs lingering on for years and years and years. And it's just like, I get that in a different way. Just
but that's every artist, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, that is every artist, and that's why collaboration is so important.
That's why I need Martin Atkins to help me finish a record.
Fuck, Martin, if you
hey,
I mean, we talked to, I talked to John before the four of us seriously started talking about John Fryer.
Oh,
about him jumping in with me. I got to do a track with him and Kevin Haskins a few years ago. They did on spec. It was going to be a theme song for a show on Discovery, and it didn't happen. But that was a pretty cool experience because Kevin Haskins, fucking Bauhaus and Tones on Tail and Lovin' Rockets, and so you're like, it's another one of those oh shit moments. I'm working with fucking John Fryer and Kevin Haskins, like fucking crazy, right?
Oh, I met now I'm forgetting his name. I'm terrible with names. The other guy from all those bands, David
Haskins. It's his brother.
Wait, who's the other guy in Bauhaus? Not the singer.
Not Peter Murphy.
Not Peter Murphy.
Daniel Ash.
No.
Okay, then it's David Haskins. Daniel Ash, guitar player. David Haskins, bass player.
Like this up.
So yeah, I mean those are the four guys. So it has to be one of those four.
Bauhaus.
Yes. Yeah, Bauhaus. So Peter Murphy. Peter Murphy.
David J.
Yeah, that's
David.
Yeah,
David
that's David Haskins.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's Kevin Haskins. Oh,
Kevin,
are they related?
they're brothers.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, I'm not deep into their history.
Yeah.
David J. That's how I know him. Yeah, I met him. He was doing like a private goth party DJing. Man, you want to see someone DJ and clear the floor? Go see David J. DJ.
Shit.
I've seen him do it several times. No, I almost feel like at this point that he does it for fun. Because I've seen him do it a couple times. Like I'll show up, I'm deep into like the goth. I'm more of a punk rocker, but like, let me tell you, the goths pay more. So I end up hanging out in the goth crowds a lot around here. And I've seen him clear a floor a couple times.
That's funny.
And then he'll play Bela Lugosi's Dead and everyone comes back.
Oh, yeah.
I almost feel like it's a joke to him.
Yeah, that's super funny. I mean, I went to a club back in Dallas when I was in college in Dallas, and this is back in the late 80s, and there was a club, and it was usually, and the club would stay open until 4. So at about 2 o'clock, when they would stop selling alcohol, and then, people were doing other things, obviously, to stay awake and keep dancing.
Sure.
Bela Lugosi's Dead was the track that's sort of the demarcation between what was happening legally and what was happening illegally. Right. but yeah, I got to meet those guys. We played a couple shows with them. We played a show with them in St. Louis that we closed.
With which band? Bauhaus?
No, with Love and Rockets.
Love and Rockets, yeah.
And I got to meet Daniel Ash, and I actually went to their meet and greet. And he's like, "What are you doing here? You're headlining the show." I'm like, "You're fucking Daniel Ash. That's why you're here, you know." And he signed my my laminate for the show.
Nice.
It's fucking cool. And I've got it in a box somewhere.
It's behind you somewhere.
No, we'll go out this door, and then we'll go out to my shed out here, you know, where you keep the cool rock and roll stuff like your lawnmower.
Word.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this about. I want to ask you a question about perversion, and then I want to selflessly plug myself for a minute, and then we'll catch up on the comments, and that'll be our palate cleanser for the next.
All right.
Going forward, you're still good. You're doing good over there.
Yeah, good, man.
Okay, cool. Here's my selfless, shameless promotion. I have a new band. It's called Pop Perversion. Here's our logo.
That's cool.
And I was thinking, like, okay, you use the name Perversion as an album title. What does that word mean to you, and how did you choose that?
Well, there's a story behind that too, which is we were so disillusioned with the business by then. And that's why the artwork, we shot it in the meatpacking district, you know,
in New York.
In New York, back when it was still a meatpacking district.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the album artwork,
let's see.
Right. Okay.
Oh my God, it's so long.
Right. And so if
like
the picture of me that you could see with my, you know, with no shirt on, I've got the word. Is
that you?
Right. That's me. And I've got the word whore written on my shirt, on my chest.
You say that a lot in your lyrics.
Because that's what we felt like. We wanted to call the album whore because that's how we felt. And so we ended up having, basically what it came down to was that, and this is, you know, it's all about selling your record. Best Buy said that they would not end cap the record. You know, back when you go into a Best Buy and you get all the new records. And,
I worked there once.
Okay.
I know.
So Best Buy wouldn't end cap the record. Walmart, who at the time was selling, you know, they were selling 10% of every record that, you know, 10% of the records sold in the United States were being bought at Walmart. Our first record wasn't at Walmart, by the way, until like way into the cycle. But anyway, so we had to change the name. And
the name was Whore?
The working title was Whore, and they were like, nope. And so we're getting ready to go, like they're getting ready to go to print, you know, to print up everything. And so we were like, so we had a meeting with our manager, and I just said perversion, because what it means is how we understood, you know, our view of what we were doing and where we were. Obviously, we saw all of that sort of hijacked and perverted. Like it was just.
That's what I was wondering, because it's like, yes, there's a sexual aspect to that word, but like the whole other definition of it is like the distortion of something.
Right. And that's what had happened to us as a band through going through the experience of understanding that there's making a record and then there's the record business.
Right.
And look, I've got friends to this day that helped us break that record. They're dear friends. But that industry as a whole will fucking chew you up, you know, and so that's where we were as a band. You know, actually all of the 4 titles of our records, you know, between self-titled, which was a sort of pure, we don't know, you know, we're just making a record, to manipulated.
You know, it's funny because I was going to ask you if that title was because you felt manipulated to release that record, and then I saw you actually saying that.
Yes.
And I was like, holy shit, I was right.
Right. But it also, because, you know, remix is a manipulation of this.
Right.
So
it works.
Right. So it all worked. And then we get to Perversion, and then we get to Superstarved, which is, you know, facing your mortality as a band.
And it killed you, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we decided we were on a
Did you-
bus in
yeah.
Illinois, and we're like, "Fuck this, we're going home." We were getting ready to go out on tour with Filter and Seven Dust and a couple other bands on like sort of a little mini festival kind of run, and we're just like, "Fuck this."
Did you know when you were making that record that it was probably going to be the end, or
I felt that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was just because there was too much. There was too much going on in my life. At the time, it was very cathartic. A lot of those lyrics, the lyrics on that record are the most honest lyrics out of all 3 records. But I just knew, I just felt like the band was disintegrating, from the inside. It was like we were like a meth tooth. It was people, if you've seen somebody that has that, like all of a sudden, like there's a thing that starts, because the tooth's rotting from the inside. We're an apple rotting from the inside. And, and as much as we loved each other, as bandmates, just didn't like each other anymore.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And it was a big problem.
Yeah.
And, and it was such a struggle, and, we couldn't weather the storm. And I don't think everybody wanted to, we were tired of weathering the storm. It's like, fuck this. I don't have any energy left. It just making the 3rd record had just taken everything from, I think, all 3 of us, and emotionally, and I'm proud that we made it. And
Is it hard to listen to now, or back then, or has enough time passed, or
enough time's passed because we opened with Love, Sex, and Money,
right?
The show in November.
I watched it on YouTube.
And so but Kurt wasn't on that record, so
Right.
Kurt wanted to open with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was like, so there were certain
Good
songs
opener.
that I had to listen to. But no, I mean, I never go back, and it's funny. My Spotify algorithms are all fucked up now because I built a Spotify playlist to rehearse to.
Yeah.
So for 4 months, every day, I was going through a set and listening to Gravity Kills music. So now Spotify thinks it's my favorite fucking band.
Yeah, mine's messed up because if I'm listening to music on Spotify, it's like usually I'm listening to new music that I don't know, so I don't even know if I like it or not, or I'm deep diving a catalog.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, no, that's not what I listen to all the time.
Right. Yeah. So if I'm with my wife, we could sit down and discuss the Depeche Mode discography down to songs on A sides and B sides, and she's very, very, very intelligent musically, and that's probably also why we're so compatible. Because there's a lot of the bands that she's younger than me, but we like the same stuff. But she listens to a lot of Taylor's
universal,
Yeah, fucking amazing band. So anyway, so she listens to a lot of Taylor Swift. So when we're together, if we're in the car, like I'm using my phone and Taylor Swift, we're listening to Taylor Swift stuff. Which, by the way, for the record, she is a prolific songwriter and fucking amazing. And if you don't get it, then you don't get it, and that's cool. So putting myself on record as being on the side of.
That's the clip from the show right there.
Dude,
because Taylor Swift, that'll go viral.
Right. Awesome. So there you go. I gave you something to work from. But so it's Spotify. I was listening to that shit, and but
she's got a new record coming out in like.
She does. Yeah, we have a countdown going on at home. It's my Missouri home. I'm in Oklahoma City right now, but she's up in St. Louis. But so she's listening to this and she's laughing right now because I'm talking about Taylor Swift. But anyway, yeah, I you know what? I have a tough time listening to any of the 3 records because I love performing it. because it's so different.
It's like you don't want to look at yourself in the mirror kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
right. Presenting it as as something live is far different than me sitting and something that's contextualized by now for me, because I can go back and go, oh yeah, that lyric fucking sucked, or or I'm pushing sharp on that take, or there's all those things, or you're just reliving a moment in time that either represents something that's really fucking great, or in some cases really fucking shitty. And that's what a record should be anyway, for the artist.
Totally.
And so that's why it's tough. But live, fuck, I mean, there's, I love going, I loved going out of doing shows with those guys for 28 years now. Maybe my favorite show.
The new one, the last one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's. I want to catch up on the comments, and then we'll talk about the new show, and then we'll go backwards from.
All right, comments. Here we go.
Let's see. Let's go back to the top. We covered a bunch of this. Did you? I guess. How did the song selections come up for these? Or
for which record? I mean. You mean okay? Here we go. Soundtracks. Okay. Yeah. Mortal Kombat.
It was the only song you had, right?
Well, no, we had Guilty, and we had by that point, I think we had 5 songs. So I think TVT pushed that, because it was kind of this little, the demo versus the album version. Super, it's this little dancey thing,
right? Yeah.
And it's, and it doesn't have the same weight that the John Fryer produced version has.
You're on a CD with Buckethead. That's cool.
So anyway, that's how that's in the 7th thing. We kind of went through that too. I mean, TVT really pushed that stuff, and and the Blame thing, that was the same way. I think by now we had maybe a relationship with Jason Flom at Lava Atlantic, because you just know all these people, and we were trying to save enough. We already had enough in the can video wise. We were ready to go with a single for that, and this came up, and we didn't want to give enough away. Even though they paid us $100,000 to be on that soundtrack, which is fucking nuts.
Awesome. Jane remembers people camping out in her room.
Man,
when you were telling that story.
I spent most of the night. If I was inside, I was kind of, again, and Jane, talking about the whole night, it was like Zach Malloy from the Nixons. If you remember the Nixons.
I don't. Oh, right. I remember Mojo.
You look it up.
Nixon.
But, because I knew, we knew all those guys. And so, I mean, it was just.
Name sounds familiar.
They had a pretty big hit called Sister, which is, you can look up, and anybody that's watching this can look up. But we were in everybody's rooms, and it was just like we were at rock and roll camp, it was like, but I spent a ton of time out by the pool.
Were you the guy who always had his shirt off, or what?
No, the shirt off thing didn't happen till later in my career, but at that point I wasn't the shirtless guy, but I was actually pretty boring, really, compared to most of those guys. I was more of a voyeur than I was anything else, just kind of watching it all. And, I was used to not really partying too much on the road.
Right.
Because you had to sing.
You're in the front of everybody. You know?
You got to sing. And so, you fuck your voice up and there's no show.
Yeah. Can't put that on. Well, I guess you can put that on tape, but here's a teaser for all the people watching. My next solo record, me and Jane Jensen do a duet.
All right.
Stay tuned. That'll probably come out at the end of the year, if all goes according to plan.
All right.
Amanda's upset Shake It didn't make it on Superstar.
You know what? And we had a co-write on that song. The guy named Gary Sunshine, who also
that sounds really familiar.
Who also worked on the Guns N' Roses Chinese Democracy record.
Okay, yeah.
And we have.
I love Chinese Democracy. I'm a big fan.
And we have and he was in a band called New York Loose as well.
Yeah, I remember them.
Yeah, and so and then we did a song with Richard Fortus that's actually on the record,
Guns N' Roses.
and he's in Guns N'
Yeah.
Roses. Yeah, so we had this weird Guns N' Roses connection.
Kind of, they absorbed a lot of people around that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Freese was in Guns N' Roses at the time. It's just like everybody. What's Test Drive 5? I don't know what that means.
Oh,
does that mean something to you?
Yeah, I don't even. You know what? It's funny because it was Guilty in Test Drive 5. That's where a lot of
video
people,
game or something.
Yeah, it's a video game. That's where a lot of people discovered Gravity Kills was on that video game, and you'll still see stuff come up. You know, people are like, oh yeah, that's where I first heard you all, and back then, there were only a few bands that were like that. The original versions of songs were actually ending up in the video games, and for some reason, we were one of those bands. And so it may be because we weren't charging a ton of money for sync fees and that kind of stuff back then too. So.
Well, great. Let's see. Sean saw you at the DNA Lounge with Godhead, another great band. I loved Godhead. Pitch Shifter.
Yeah.
And then with Pigface. Cool.
Yeah, Pitch Shifter. Yeah, those guys are awesome. And
what was that song they had? I'm trying to remember.
Genius was there.
Yeah, Genius.
Yeah, we heard that was off their pitchshifter.com record. And yeah, I'd never heard them before, and we were going through a stack of CDs trying to find an opener for the Tour Perversion, and fucking put that, I was hear that dun 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 dun.
Yeah,
dun,
I remember. I only know that one song. I should probably
Yeah, you should deep dive that band, and yeah, they're just fucking amazing, and British guys, and and we had Junkie XL out with us that year too. That summer was a really cool tour, and it was a World Cup year, and I wasn't like a soccer / football guy, and totally got into World Cup that year because of course we had a British band, a Dutch band out with us on tour, and they were totally fucking into it. So
interesting.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
Michael Carrasquillo. Did I say that correctly? I'm sorry if I butchered your name.
Yeah, TVT guy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, TVT guy, and he verifies my story there
and confirm.
Yeah,
yes, and I know you played with Typo at least once, right?
We did. We played with them 1997 in Tampa, Florida. But here's the weird.
That's where he lives right now.
But here's the weird fucking. Here's the weird. The last three bands of the day were us, Motley Crue, and then Typo Negative.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weird bill. Helmet was on that show as well.
Oh, I love.
They played a little earlier in the day, but
I saw them do Betty in full once. It was great.
Yeah, so that's we played one show with them, and I stood out front of house and watched.
Did you get to hang out with Pete Steele at all or anything? No.
Yeah, no, I mean, cool stories. In fact,
yeah,
really, after they were done, I wanted to go hang out with the Motley Crue guys because we were all that was where the party
was. It all the original guys, or was it like a weird?
No, it was all the original guys. It was the album. It was Generation Swine record, which was the album that they
they were like alternative and stuff.
That they reformed. They actually asked us to tour with them, and we turned it
wow.
because we knew that it would be a bad move for us because people that fucking hated us. But especially Tommy Lee thought we were super cool, and
that's cool
because he had done that Methods of Mayhem record.
Yeah,
if you haven't heard it yet, so which is kind
like
of
his rap record, right?
Yeah, rap, electronic,
right? Whole, it was like that Limp Bizkit scene was starting.
Yeah, but it was before, right? It was, it predated that. Yeah, predated that a little bit. So, but yeah, I had to do I did a magazine interview instead of all the guys are like hanging out with, fucking the Motley Crue guys, and I'm stuck in a trailer doing an interview with a guy named Paul Gargano, by the way, who did Metal Edge magazine. He's a fucking
I remember that.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart guy, and So I don't want to.
No disrespect to him, but like you fucked him over a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean you got to get the press in there.
Yeah, I mean we played a show with The Cure in Toronto, and it was a festival, and I got to kind of half watch the set. I'd seen The Cure before, but I kind of had, because I was doing an interview, and I'd just say shh, shh, like, and then we'd listen to a song, and then So,
let's do a commentary. I think we're done with the comments for now.
Kind of a Beavis and Butthead thing here. Is that what we're doing?
I guess so.
Okay.
And I'm gonna turn it down low so that hopefully YouTube doesn't get me in trouble during our stream. But all right. So I want to preface this with saying I heard you say that you went to film school.
I did.
And so you probably know you could say a lot of filmy kind of stuff about it.
I could or couldn't by now. I mean, you're talking. This is long before, this is fucking long time ago. This is like late 80s, early 90s.
So I'll tell you this.
But you want a commentary on how this shit happened. I could tell you the streaky shit in there. You want to know about it?
Sure.
Was a mistake. We were using Panaflex cameras, and anybody knows anything about photography, real photography, not digital photography, but when you're, in a film camera, there's a mirror that spins, and that's how you can see what the fuck's going on. And so you got this mirror spinning. This was probably shot at 24 frames a second. Well, the mirror would stick. So now light going to the film would have this weird streak in it. And so that's effect now can be, it's been done digitally a million times, but this was a fucking mistake. And other commentary, I don't know if you got questions. We use the same, some of the people from the movie Seven. We shot this at the Alexandria Hotel in Los Angeles. 30 Seconds to Mars totally ripped us off.
They ripped a lot of people off. I always call them bootleg Deadsy, but that's just me.
They ripped us fucking off and did a video at the same look, same location.
Well, I was gonna say, I watch this stuff now and I'm like, holy shit, this is like, if I was going to show somebody or like what videos were like in the 90s, this is what videos were like in the 90s. You kind of set a whole trend of like the mood and aesthetic.
Yeah,
like the 90s videos. I mean, even Marilyn Manson after this and everything.
Yeah, I really feel like we did. Because
this is so 90s.
Bush used this location after we did. Lenny Kravitz used this location after we did. And
wow. I mean, just like the look and the feel and like the effects and everything. It's so 90s. But you were like a pioneer in this.
It wasn't me, and it wasn't the band. I mean,
Gravity Kills.
Yeah, I mean, and how if people don't know how these things happen, you pick a producer and they start reaching out to directors. You get treatments that you look at, and the guy who directed this, guy named Rocky Morton, had not done music videos for a very long time, and he directed like the Max Headroom movie.
Oh, wow.
But by now he was mainly doing commercial work. Like this cop in this video, he's been in like Doritos commercials. Recently he was in a Tide commercial. And I'm sure Rocky probably did those commercials. So, but we used some of the same people in this video from the movie Seven. Mm-hmm. Because that's, since the song had been in that movie,
right? Yeah.
And we got to shoot twice because when all the streaky shit happened, they had insurance on the shoot, and even though they knew they were going to use it, they went ahead and filed a claim, and then we got to shoot some more stuff, and that was super crazy. I got a piece of there's a shot of me, a couple shots. I'm out in if you remember the movie Seven, if you've seen it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, there's an alleyway where the Kevin Spacey guy has got a gun on Brad Pitt's head. Mm-hmm. It's raining and
right.
so that's the alleyway that we shot the outside stuff in. Well, I got a piece of glass in my fucking foot.
Oh.
And they had a production assistant trying to cut this piece of glass out of my foot.
Oh my God.
And so, yeah, and they could never get it out. So finally, it finally created this big ass callus in the ball of my foot, and the whole thing one day just fell out.
Oh,
the callus with the piece of glass in the middle of it. So I had this kind of weird hole in my foot for a while.
See, you don't hear that anywhere else. I haven't heard that one before.
So there you go.
Wow. Let's, I guess, maybe talk a little bit about the first record, since that was from the first record. I have a couple questions. Samples. You use some weird samples. Like, what's the deal with the samples in that record? I mean, I was like re-listening to the vinyl today, and it's just like some weird violins and horns and that backwards singing. Like, who found this stuff and where did it come from?
Primarily, that's Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Doug. I mean, what Doug would do is he would find, basically he would have movie night. And he had a, if you remember, this is back then, you had these big digital discs that movies came on, like pre-DVD, like you get them on
VHS. Laserdisc?
It was a Laserdisc, yeah. And he had a Laserdisc player that had a digital out.
Mm.
And so he would sit and he would watch movies, and as he was watching them, he would just record shit into Sonic Solutions. And then he would flip them around backwards, or he would pitch them differently, or he would do whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble or sued or anything, but
Yeah, I mean, and so that's what he would do. And
there's some interesting stuff in the background of that record.
Yeah, and that was Doug. It wasn't, the three of us, Matt, Kurt, and myself, we're just, I was a drummer and a bad guitar player, and and Matt was a guitar player, and Kurt was a drummer and a bass player and a guitar player. And we would just, we just did songs, and maybe we'd suss them out in a basement somewhere. And then
the violins and stuff in Enough, like, that's so cool.
Yeah. Some of those orchestral things that happen in that song. Yeah. It's all Doug. Yeah. I mean, and in fact, and you could probably hear more of that on vinyl than you can on the CD.
So, yeah.
Because, I mean, the CDs were so compressed that, the sound's so compressed.
I mean, you can hear it, but it's a little clearer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, that was all Doug. I mean, Doug would sit for hours and just try to search that stuff out. And I didn't have the stomach for it. I didn't have the, I guess I didn't have the patience for that kind of stuff, And even now, writing stuff, I'm sitting at my workstation here, and at my key lab, and I just pull stuff up, and I'm just doing straight ahead stuff. I'm not looking for, I don't try. I am more into making noise now, but it's everything. I'm generating it now versus back then you were and a lot of people were sample based, and a lot of people found stuff. But that's the great thing about technology. You could, we had a stack of emulator 4s that we would track to, and then we would edit stuff down in Sonic Solutions and move them into emulator 4s, and then just and play them, whether it was a bass part or it was a vocal part or whatever it was.
Watch out for those details. It was fun. It's fun stuff in there.
Yeah. So
what is this? What am I looking at?
You know what? If you had the CD version and all that artwork, okay. So in that you could find in the liner notes, and
something
actually
about a bomb.
Yeah, there's a book that we had getting Greg Knoll from TVT Records and Kurt, who's an architect.
Right.
He spearheaded that. That's why Kurt's initials are on the cover of that record, and because it's sort of his way of signing it, and Greg's initials are on there too. And they
Anatomy of a Bomb or something like
yeah,
that.
that's it. Yeah, so that was, it was sort of, kind of the same way we did the music. The music all started with a song, and then you'd find artifacts from other places, and that's kind of the way that I think Kurt approached the artwork too.
Gonna say, like, how did you have discussions about the image that you wanted to portray? And
no,
it just kind of happened.
Yeah, I mean, we all stumbled into that.
Let me see. I have here in my slideshow somewhere. Here's some more sort of like stuff like that on your singles.
Yeah, and it's all from the same book.
Mm-hmm.
And and obviously those are licensed photographs. And by then they may have been, those photographs might have been public domain by then.
Yeah, maybe.
So, and I'm sure all that was sorted out. I mean, Steve Gottlieb from TVT, he's an attorney, so I'm sure he was thinking about all that stuff.
Is there a reason every song on this album is one word?
Yeah, it was because we weren't that creative, and we were just
can't be 2 or 3 words. It has to be one word. Was that
just one word? Yeah, I mean, it's just because "Guilty" was the first song we wrote together, and then after that, we just like in fact, we're like, the song "Inside" doesn't really have a chorus, like a traditional chorus, and so that was the second song we did together. And "Goodbye," I don't even know if there's one line, there's the line going into the chorus says "Goodbye." And so they were working titles of songs, and as we kept moving on, it was just like, yeah, let's just keep doing that. It was just, it's how you'd write it on a set list.
Yeah. Right.
So, so that was really the way we were thinking about that. We weren't overthinking, you're talking about doing Easter eggs, and we touched on Taylor Swift doing, putting Easter eggs in her stuff. We weren't that smart.
There's no Easter eggs in here, really. Well, I guess the initials and stuff. That's
I mean, there's stuff in there, but it
wasn't intentionally an Easter egg.
No.
You know what? There are Easter eggs on my record cover. If you guys want to go buy one and go find
a CD player somewhere.
Yeah.
Your local pawn shop.
No, just look at it. You don't have to listen to it.
Right. You listen to it on Spotify while you hold it.
Well, that's why actually on my CDs I have an extra track that's not on Spotify, as it's like that's sort of an Easter egg for anyone who actually puts it in their CD player and plays it. They're going to find an extra song that's not on Spotify.
There you go.
So,
you're not one of those guys that does, what was one of those Spotify scams where they're like, they have like 125-second songs or something.
I think they got rid of that.
Right, they did at some point. Right, but they caught people doing shit like that where they're
my songs are just
scamming the royalty system or whatever.
Well, my songs are a minute and a half just because I'm a punk rocker and that's all I need. That's not for Spotify reasons, but I guess it works that way too. Okay, right. So I have to ask about this. Tell me about playing with the Sex Pistols.
Man,
like I haven't heard any stories about this. Like, there must be some stories about hanging out with the Sex Pistols.
Really, the only night that I really hung out with John, we were in Memphis, and there were some guys from the radio station in St. Louis that had driven down to Memphis, because that tour didn't go through St. Louis, and I think we did play Chicago, but this venue was bigger in Memphis than
I remember this tour hit. Let's see. Was it Jones Beach? Did you play that show?
I don't know. I mean, we did every show in North America for that tour.
I thought they played at Jones Beach. In New York.
No, New York. We played at Roseland. Played at Roseland, and anyway, we were in Memphis, and some guys came down from the radio station, and we sat in John's dressing room and drank beer. And, and the thing about John, we were smart and knew not to talk about the Sex Pistols. If you wanted to you wanted to see him like light up and like
Talk about Pill, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we'd sit and talk about Pill records and
Jaw wobble.
and he loved it, and so that was one night in Memphis that we all had way too much to drink. And one point we were in the Mississippi River, which is not a good idea by the time you get down to Memphis, Tennessee. I'm sure there'll be some disease that'll crop up here at some point that I don't know I have yet. And then our guitar player jumped on sort of this motorized skateboard scooter thing and broke his ribs.
Oh no. Oh man. During the tour?
Yeah. And he didn't know it until we got to the second to the last show. We were in Seattle, and he couldn't do the show. He spent the whole day in the hospital, and because by now I think he had gotten pneumonia too. And so it was pretty dire. And so what did I do? Instead of, I wasn't at the hospital, I sang Duran Duran Rio with the band Goldfinger.
I was gonna say Goldfinger. That's an interesting mix of bands.
Yeah, well, Goldfinger was kind of a punk thing.
Yeah, and I was thinking about they're playing in New York this week with the Dwarves. I was thinking about going.
Yeah, one of their guitar players lives in St. Louis. And so, and then I think Charlie, the original guitar player, is playing with them again as well. And for a while, that band, I don't know if Darren, the original drummer, is playing with them.
I don't know much about them.
But but that band, and John Feldman's a super talented guy. He's like, he's a like an LA songwriter. So he's been really successful in like writing pop hits and that kind of stuff. He maybe writes some metal stuff, but like pop. I want to say pop, but more like maybe like you could hear John Feldman. I can't tell you that he did or didn't work with this band, but like I could see John working like on a Sum 41 record or something.
Right, yeah.
That's
pop. That's pop, and for punk rockers, that's pop.
Right. So So anyway, right. It's not an exploited record or anything. So
right.
Yeah. So anyway, so he, yes. Anyway, that band was a lot of fun, and and they were cool guys, and it was a weird tour though at times because Stabbing Westward did half that tour. And we did
Did you guys have like a friendly rivalry sort of thing going on?
And we became better friends like as time moved on. I remember one point, like the first show we ever played together was in St. Louis, and they were already like Ungod had been out for ages, and Wither Blister Peel and Burn was
Great
out.
Records, yeah.
And our first record's not even out yet.
Oh, okay.
But they had to open for us in St. Louis.
First time I heard of them was from the Clerks soundtrack.
Yeah, and of course I had Ungod, and I think I insulted Chris, because I told him I like to listen to that record when I was cleaning the house, and so somehow I took, I don't know, maybe it took, or he just thought maybe it was a weird comment to make to him or something, and so he didn't really talk to me much for a long time. But then we started playing, you're playing a lot of festivals together, and then we did the Pistols tour together. They did half the run, and Goldfinger did the other half.
If there was one band of that era that sort of fit in the same realm as you, Stabbing Westward probably.
Yeah, and we never toured with them, which was fucking stupid.
You know what's funny? I'm filming them in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and
I actually opened for them once.
Yeah, and Walter came to our show in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time they were in Oklahoma City, I went to see them. They were a place called the Diamond Ballroom, and I went down and got to see them, and it was really cool. They had actually, at that point, they still had 3 guys from the Wither, Blister, Peel and Burn record. Now there's just Walter and Christopher. Anyway, so we had a friend. Yeah, it was a friendly rivalry, I guess. Maybe it was really more Christopher having a friendly rivalry with us, where the rest of the guys were just like, hey, let's fucking hang out, and like Jim Sellers, bass player, and Kurt, like every time Kurt's out in, on the West Coast, him and Jim on occasion, I guess, have had dinner together, and but Jim, I guess, hasn't wanted to have anything to do with any of the band sort of reforming.
Right.
And there was a whole story behind that too. I mean,
that actually, technically, I opened up for the Dreaming.
Right.
But they were playing Stabbing Westward songs.
Right. Yeah, because at the time they couldn't use the name.
Right.
Yeah, it was a whole, Andy the drummer thing, I think. So,
well, if anyone's on the East Coast in 2 weeks, I'm a photographer and videographer, and I work for Vampire Freaks, and they're doing a festival, and they're one of the headliners, and that'll be in New Jersey, the 19th, 20th, and 21st this month. So I'll be filming them in 2 weeks.
Well, say hey to them.
All right.
I haven't talked to. I haven't talked.
I'll probably do I usually do the VIP photos thing.
Cool.
So I'll probably see them.
Yeah. That my relationship with Christopher is much different than it was back then.
Sure.
And again, Walter's is a sweetheart, man. He's a super cool guy, and again, he came down.
Carlton, he was in Dead Sea and stuff.
He came down from. Walter came down from Chicago to see us play, and
nice.
And I didn't stay after the show. I had my 2 kids were with me, and they were all at a bar in the venue. And,
you're playing? Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I'll be filming you. I made all the promo videos and everything that you see online. So.
All right. There you go.
This is a good segue into let's jump into modern day, and then we'll start landing this plane.
All right.
Sean asks, what do you think of industrial bands of today, like Three Teeth, and I don't know these other bands, but I know or for me in general, I know you say you try to keep up with modern music, like what?
Yeah, but it's not necessarily that genre, I
right.
mean,
that's why I'm.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. What do I think?
I saw Three Teeth once.
I think, obviously that band's been very successful, and
they toured with Tool.
Yeah, they toured with Nails too.
Rammstein, I think maybe. I forget. Maybe both.
I think they toured with Nails too. And,
maybe.
And so
I saw them in a small downstairs at Webster Hall in the studio.
Yeah, for me, sort of the spirit of that music kind of lives in, I think, industrial music when it became more mainstream.
Trent.
And then thanks Stabbing Westward and
thanks Gravity Kills.
Right.
Yeah, you're part of that problem too.
Right, I'm part of that problem. But it sort of infected, like everybody kind of went through their industrial phase, like even David Bowie.
Oh yeah, that's why we love Outside and Earthling.
Right. I mean, that track Heart's Filthy Lesson. I mean, that video could have been a Nine Inch Nails video, right? And
yeah, exactly.
And so, we play shows with Garbage.
Oh, I love Garbage.
And and they even felt like they were using some of those elements at times.
Oh yeah, sure.
And so I think what happened was, I guess as far as my sensibilities have sort of kind of followed those tentacles.
If Shirley Manson was singing on this album, it would sound like Garbage.
Yeah, at times, right. And and so that was right, and that's a good point. So I think, as far as hard music is for me at times, and I don't want to sound like a get off my lawn guy, but the lack of melody that is permeating.
Dude, I agree. Not to cut you off, but
no, dude.
One of the things that someone asked me recently was what's something that you're kind of tired of? And I said, well, if it's just that, yes.
Right.
I said bands with cool vibes but not good songs. And I don't want to name names, but there's a lot of modern industrial bands that are like, wow, that was really cool. I don't remember a single fucking song they just played.
Yeah, because we were a pop band.
Oh, sorry.
You know, and I don't want to look. I'm not going to shit on any band.
Very nice, very nice. They're cool.
I'm not going to shit on any band other than there's some of that stuff I just don't like. You know, I look at a band like, you know, sort of a super underrated band. It's been very successful in my opinion. Like in their genre, they're very, I think ubiquitously they are not well enough known, which is the band Seven Dust.
Yeah, I saw them with Cold Chamber once.
And because that is a band.
I loved their second record, Home. That was a great record.
Home's an amazing record. Animosity is an amazing record. You know, and you know, because they like either you're listening to the record or you see them live, especially when they were
live.
Much,
they're great. Yeah.
Oh my God, you know,
I don't relate to their music as much now, but they're a great live band.
Yeah, it's an amazing live band, and Lejean he's a singer, man.
Guy can sing, yeah.
Guy can sing, and so again, you know, I don't want to sound like the get off my lawn guy, but you know, that's like where you and I talking about David Bowie, or you know, and you talked about, you know, guys like, you know, you talk about Pretty Hate Machine, sort of, you know, bringing industrial music, taking that next step, and sort of, you know, there's, you know, there was melody there, and there was, you know, and there was things that were
right. Yeah.
And it was more
not just beats.
And not just beats and not just a visual aesthetic.
Exactly.
And, you know, and look, you know, here I am fucking, you know, got a black t-shirt on or whatever, but you know, we've never been that. You know, you look at pictures of us. I mean, you know, Doug looked like a raver kid in the 90s. You know, that's how he dressed, you know, and, you know, Matt had this
that fuzzy hat thing.
Right. And Matt had more of this kind of sophisticated kind of vibe thing. And then Kurt wore, you know, like more like, you know, sort of skater kind of stuff. You know, he's a drummer, so he's, you know, he's got to be comfortable.
You can't really see him anyways.
Yeah. So and then, you know, and then I would go through phases, and, you know, but we just never fit, you know, our visual aesthetic was never that, you know, we weren't, you know, we just never fit in that place. And I think that's maybe why some people that were really into that Wax Tracks thing, or maybe they just listened to Ministry records and Skinny Puppy records and Front 242 records, and, you know, I could go on and on. We didn't fit that aesthetic at all, where Trent still sort of carried that aesthetic, you know, up to the Fragile.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, then Trent kind of, to me, that's, you know, it was at that point, like, if I'm going to listen to a Nine Inch Nails record, I'm not listening to I'm not listening to anything before the Fragile.
I did revisit Downward Spiral recently because it was the anniversary.
Yeah, but you know, I just can't, like, to me, like, if I was going to listen to a Nine Inch Nails record, I'd be far more interested in listening to the things that he did, sort of, even when he became conscious.
I get it. Yeah.
And, you know, and that's where his whole vibe changed, you know, and, you know, and that band became, you know, what he and Atticus did became more organic, and, you know, and we could sit here, you're not going to sit here and pick apart Nine Inch Nails records, but as far as how it pertains to the question of industrial music, like, I don't even know what that is anymore. Like,
right.
You know, it's like, what is metal music anymore? What is hip hop? You know, or what?
I just want good songs. I don't care what genre it is.
Yeah, and, you know, and look, when I find those bands that speak to me, you know, that are, say, newer bands or post Gravity Kills bands, like a band like She Wants Revenge. You know, it's very, like, you know, it's very minimalist. It's dark, you know, but
you can dance to it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All that stuff, you know.
I hear it a lot in the club every time I'm out, you know, they got to play Tear You Apart.
Right. Yeah. And so that, you know, or now, you know, I mean, bands sort of that cropped up in that era, like a band like Ladytron or something that.
Oh, their first two records are amazing.
or Red Blood Shoes, and which is more organic but still kind of in that electronic place. It's like, but then you can listen to a metric record and hear industrial influences, or it's so I think I'm still attached to all that, but I'm not specifically
in the genre.
And Gravity, if we talk about new Gravity Kills, that's where this is
let's talk about new Gravity Kills. That's where we're going next. We're going to talk about the new shit and the show you just did.
It's going to sound like Gravity Kills, but we were a band that
don't get too soft.
Our palette, no, we won't.
Okay, good.
No, that's not going to happen. But our palette is broad as far as stylistically what would fall under our umbrella, because we've done super organic tracks. Like there's 2 tracks on the first record that are like very organic. Down and Never was my favorite out of all the songs we did live in November. Never, like even in rehearsal, it's fucking, when we got to that part of the set,
next, so
I fucking loved it. Yeah, and we moved it out of that venue.
Oh yeah, right.
But yeah, we can be as electronic as we want to be, and we can be as heavy as we want to be, and we can be as dark as we want to be, and when I talk about dark, there's many shades that we can be, because we've sort of already visited a lot of different places when it comes to that. And I think the difference will be, this is not going to sound like, if people are waiting for us to give them the self-titled again, they're going to be severely disappointed, because we're just not there, and the technology that we have to create music has moved on, and so there may be a 4 on the floor track.
What would you say is the glue that makes it sound like Gravity Kills? Is it like the guitar sound? I guess it's your vocals.
That electronic elements, the probably, so yeah. And when you combine that with some sort of tension and abrasiveness and dirt, no matter how, no matter where it lands, in that, it's still going to sound like us.
Yeah, because there's some songs on these records that are like more punk rock, or
and that's
like that.
And
I love that, like more punk rock.
And that's that's where I'm.
I want energy. Like, give me energy, and I'll go with you on it.
Yeah, that's where my, like, I'm pushing us more, and like the stuff I'm working on. I say that I sent Kurt an idea yesterday that was not that. It was like, it was just super crazy fat, sawtooth synth bass thing with these distorted live drums, and it was just, but I'm an energy guy too. I mean, I just, I want people to, I want it to push people back at times. I want to get in people's faces at times, and and I think that's what all the guys want to do. Just so. You want to pull back, because if you're just in somebody's face for 45 minutes, you lose your impact, right? So, we want to create something that's dynamic, but there are moments, and I'm probably like vocally, I'm vocally probably stronger than I was. I'm as strong as I've ever been vocally, and and I'm lucky because I haven't used my voice for 20 years.
Right.
So I haven't put that kind of mileage on it. And, and that's what guys kept telling me in rehearsals. It's like, man, you sound so good. And that was my goal. It was like, I pulled back on the physical part of the show because I wanted to focus on sounding really good, because that's what we put together a bigger, our team in St. Louis put together this light show. It was bigger than anything we'd ever done before. We had, we had video going. It was all this stuff. Okay, well, that's the show. I'm going to go up there. I didn't go all Maynard and stand in one spot.
Right.
Like, standing behind the drums. And, I wasn't that. I was a front guy. I'm a front guy. And so I did my thing. But, I wasn't so concerned with breaking my neck as I was, delivering a good vocal performance for people. And because it could have been, who knows? I mean, we're talking about doing shows. We turned down an offer in Chicago in the fall. It just didn't work out schedule wise. Friends with these people, all cool, but it just didn't work for us. And we kind of wanted to sort of, we're still sorting some stuff out together as a band and trying to become a band again. So
yeah.
So it just didn't work. But we'll hit. If we do this, we want to go to, for people out there listening, watching, definitely Chicago, definitely Denver. Those are our top 2 streaming markets, by the way, in the world. We've never been to Australia. Australia's 3 of our top 20 markets in the world are in Australia, which is crazy. We never played there. But
promoters in Australia, are you listening?
So anyway, New York,
yes, I'll be there.
And I don't know, outside of those, you get, we have weird, it's Midwest, so Kansas City's a possibility.
You think you'll just do like single shows like the Misfits are doing, or or you think you'll stretch it out as a tour?
No, we won't. Nobody's interested in jumping on a bus. So
right,
we would put together something. If we did a string of shows, let's say let's say we go to Kansas City. So maybe you do Kansas City on a Friday and then drive overnight to Denver and do a show in Denver on Saturday and then drive home.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like what Stabbing's doing, we don't want to do those kinds of runs, but why? But if we're going to play shows, we figure, and look, we understand that we're nostalgia. You and I are talking business nostalgia. There's not,
sure.
Yeah. And so we understand that. But for our own,
as an artist, you want to push forward.
If I'm gonna
want something new to offer, right?
Yeah, I don't want to go out and portray a character that has been dead for 20 years. We're not doing Shakespeare here.
With Anesh, okay. Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, I met him.
Sure.
Anesh used to come to our shows in New York, by the way, and I'd never met him.
Yeah, he was roommates with my friend.
And I finally
met him a bunch of times.
And I finally met him. My wife and I met him when I did the Pigface reunion.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, yeah, I met him at a Pigface show once.
Yeah, so it was he's sober now, but he was standing there with drinking a Bud Light or something, and immediately went into I think he had some issue with a Wax Trax release when he was in KMFDM, and so anyway, he just immediately jumped on, wanted me to get engaged in a conversation. And at this point, I was kind of overwhelmed because, the Pigface crowd and the Gravity Kills crowd, I think at times, stand on, there are people that intersect, but I always felt like we were on the outside looking in from that crowd. And so I think I was a little overwhelmed, and I had my wife with me, and we were having such a great time. And, just being together in Chicago, and it was just, kind of a little mini vacation for us.
There's a lot of people in Pigface. It's overwhelming.
Oh my God. It was and, Steven Siebold,
my friend Christoph was playing.
Yeah. And he that guy was always super sweet to me. And same with,
he's great.
Same with Steven, super sweet. And all those people were just super nice to us. Even though we never I don't know that we ever felt like we were part of that. So
the old guitar player from Kitty played that show.
Yeah. So that was odd too.
It's Pigface is like the green jello of the industrial world. They just absorb people.
Yeah, and I got to because I started as a drummer in the business. I was a guitar player first, and then I played drums for a while, and we were doing a show in Los Angeles at the Key Club. This was in 2001. And I'm playing, there was 3 drum kits on stage, and Martin's playing one, and I'm playing one, and Danny Carey's playing one.
Oh my God.
And so
there's
that
your
was
Green Jello connection.
Right. So there, right.
He was
so
the drummer in, that album.
So it was, so that was like an oh shit kind of moment, and because Martin Atkins knows everybody.
Oh, of course.
And, So we kind of come full circle. You're back to, back to your roots and how I've connected to that somehow. And,
Yeah.
It's,
well, here's what I wanted to ask you about the show. I know that sort of the impetus of it was that your children never got to see you play, right? I heard you talk a lot about that, but what I haven't heard you talk about much yet is that what was their reaction when they did see it?
Oh man. My daughter in particular, who is graduating from high school this year, she first learned about me being a musician at all. She was in daycare, and I picked her up, and she's like, "Daddy, I heard you played guitar in a rock band." And so I kind of talked to her about it, and as she's gotten older, kids start she's a real indie rock kind of kid.
Not into the Taylor Swift, or
she likes Taylor Swift too. But she's like she finds music the same way a lot of people do these days, through TikTok. So she finds artists she connects to, and they're mainly female artists, and I think it's great. And she, a lot of indie sort of, it's cool. It's occasionally I'll ask her to play some stuff for me. It's pretty cool. But anyway, her reaction was, and I'm getting this secondhand because I couldn't see her in the crowd, but the first 3 songs, she was just crying. And there was Amanda from Kansas City saying she was she stood the whole show there with my wife, and so she just cried. She was
Had
so
your wife
proud.
seen you in Gravity Kills?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah, plenty of times, a million times. So we got backstage. Like she brought it's thank you, good night. We're go back to the dressing room, and they show up, and again, she just saw me and just started crying, and she just put her face in my chest, and just her body shook. She was just so proud. Because she knew, she's seen videos on YouTube and all that stuff. But I never identified myself to her that way. It was not something that she grew up with. She didn't grow up, so she was born in 2005.
Right.
So that, she didn't know her father that way, but she knew of all that stuff. And I have a little project studio here, I have telly out, and a bass over here, and, I've got a bedroom full of guitars. And so she sees that stuff around, but again, it's not my identity to her. I'm just her dad. So when she saw it, I think it just, I asked her, I said, was it as good as you thought, it was going to be, or was it not as good? She's like,
was she the only opinion that you mattered to you in the?
Not necessarily. No, I wanted, no. I mean, there are people on here, we see Amanda Meek from Kansas City. She came to the meet, Amanda came to the meet and greet, and, she's been a fan for years. And I was like, hey, Amanda, as soon as I saw her at the meet and greet, at the VIP. And, I wanted those people. It became something bigger. Okay. It started with the kids. And then when, you put up the poster, well, it was when that venue sold out in about 50 minutes.
Right.
We realized that it was something else. It wasn't for our own indulgence anymore.
It's like a family reunion.
It's that whoever was going to show up to this thing, what we did musically meant something to them. For, whatever you connect to musically, however it touches those places. And we were a band that somehow touched these people. I mean, there were, people from Canada there and all over the country. I could probably name every, maybe nobody from North Dakota or something, but you know what I mean? I mean, it was people from, stood and talked to a guy from Toronto. He brought his 2 kids, he's like, you got to see this band, and it meant something to these people. And so that's what it became. Like it was, and that's why we put the time in it that we put in. I mean, it was 4 months from creative meetings to me rehearsing all the time, getting my voice ready, everybody individually rehearsing, us doing rehearsals as a band, that we never did in previous shows that we'd gotten together. We just went cold, got on stage, just did it. We've done it a million times.
2012.
Right.
Yeah.
We just got on stage and did it. And, this is the first time I really I wanted to sound really awesome. And so I really worked on taking care of my voice, which I, do anyway, like by not singing, and I'm not a drinker, and I'm not like a smoker, and I'm not all that stuff. And, that's things that hurt a vocalist over the long haul. And I'm taking care of myself physically. And so, but your voice, if you're not using it, you may sound good. Like I'd recorded songs and I'd done things, but you're singing, one song, and you can do some takes, and you can come back the next day, and it's all that stuff. When you're going to go out and sing for 90 minutes and try to bring it the way you brought it when somebody saw it 25 years ago. Because look, I'll say this kind of shit and people may go, you're crazy. There are people that even though they like the band, they may be waiting for you to not be able to deliver. Because we kind of live in that place now.
Mm-hmm.
Or if video would have gotten out, let's say that vocally I just didn't have it. And
like Motley Crue.
Right. Yeah, Vince Neil, unfortunately, you're right. He shouldn't be doing it. And it's my advice. Vince, you're never going to watch this, but if you do, just stop. Do us all a favor. Just stop.
Vince,
you were
if you're
awesome.
watching this, subscribe to the channel.
Right. You were awesome. You're fucking awesome, but you're not now. Totally. And so I didn't want to be that. And so, and then my stepson, he was.
How old is he?
He's 12.
Okay.
And I've known him since he was 4. So he's never known a time without me in it. But my identity, again, like he didn't even know I was in a band until he never saw me play anything. It was like maybe a year and a half ago or so, a couple Thanksgivings ago. For some reason, like I didn't have stuff out. I brought a bass out and started playing bass. We were like playing games at the dining room table here. But he was like, he thought it was pretty fucking cool, and because, when you got 1,800 people there and people are, it's one thing. It's like, my dad's in the band, and, you show up at like, there's the Corn Dog Festival, and, dad's playing, some, he's playing some Better Than Ezra covers or whatever he's doing.
I saw them at Tower Records once.
Dude, we played a bunch of shows with those guys. In fact,
good.
I ripped off a Move in the Guilty video from one of their videos. But anyway, so
Better Than Ezra. That's a fucking reference, dude.
Yeah. So there you go. Right. So anyway, so if it would have been that, I don't know that, but the context of him seeing me do it in that context, I'm sure, was far more than he, and then of course he has every t-shirt now. He wears those to school, and he's a baseball player. So he's either wearing, a lot of cases wearing a Gravity Kills, calls it his Jeff merch. So he wears his Gravity Kills stuff. My daughter wears Gravity Kills stuff. I had to go out in the shed. I pulled out all, because I've got every shirt we ever sold. I still have at least one of.
Right.
She has all that stuff now. And she wears all that stuff. And she's got a pig face shirt she wears. And she goes to a Catholic high school, by the way. So when is
it one of those ones with the nuns and some cursing on it?
Well, and she wears a uniform and all that. But when
I mean the pig face shirt.
But no, it's not. No,
it's
not that stuff.
I mean,
it's
the up pig face.
No, it's not that stuff. But
Yeah.
she wears that stuff, but she'll wear like Joan Jett, t-shirts, and she's that. She's got pierced nose, and right now her hair looks fairly normal color wise, and you could, if there was a lineup of kids and you said, hey, which one of these girls is the daughter of the guy from Gravity Kills, you'd go, that one.
Yeah.
And you'd be right. So anyway, and so the kids were, you know, I've got a picture of my stepson in the dressing room. It was before the gig, and I'm kind of just sitting on the couch, like kind of, you know, whatever, you know, just the backstage character or whatever, and his name's Beckett, and in the picture of him, he's got this big smile on his face, and he's like, and he saw the picture, he's like, yeah, I'm kind of new to this rock and roll thing, you know. So, but yeah, the kids love. They spent the whole
do this.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't do that.
No, you don't do that.
Yeah, I don't do that. So, and it's not for any particular reason. I just think it's one of those things that it's a Ronnie James Dio aesthetic, and everybody else stole it, and you know, and it doesn't, you know, it's been co-opted, and you know, and I'll pay tribute to Ronnie James Dio by not ever doing it, but anyway, I've probably done it, but I've made a conscious decision to not do that. But anyway, you know, they got to spend the whole day with me. They did sound check. They did the VIP, and it was my wife, my kids, and you know, and then I spent as much time with people. We did a VIP. We had 100 people there. It was reasonable. It wasn't, you know, and it came with the price of the ticket. You know, we did, you know, but you know, we did catch some shit for doing a VIP.
Oh, whatever. All the bands do that these days.
But that VIP paid for the light show.
Right.
So once we sold out the VIP, which initially we had 50 and then we upped it to 100, that paid for
Dude, that's how you got to do it these days.
And because we had the risk on that show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Live Nation we didn't take a deposit. They had no risk on the show. We had a percentage deal with them, straight percentage. Of course, they took out their building fees and all those kind of stuff. But they're really cool because we know all those people in St. Louis, and so they were really cool.
It was worth it. Confirmed.
Yeah, it was a fucking amazing day. So
win-win for everyone.
It was, you know, and we weren't talking about doing music again until we got on stage together and go and acknowledge to each other that it felt good. Because I don't know that I wasn't interested I was interested in doing music, you know, not necessarily, and it would have probably sounded like Gravity Kills because that's where my sensibilities are as a musician, you know, as I see myself as a musician.
Yeah, I heard that David Bowie cover.
But yeah, I did that with a guy. Yeah, I did that with a guy in Tulsa, super talented guy. And so anyway, so I was, you know, I've always tinkered with stuff, but you know, it felt good. And those guys are all just the smartest people.
It looked like you were having fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't seem forced or anything.
Yeah. And it wasn't. And
right.
we were 4 guys from Jefferson City, Missouri, you know, who grew up listening to Devo and the Sex Pistols and Van Halen and Duran Duran and Depeche Mode, and then into Ministry and Skinny Puppy and Front 242. We went through all that too, right?
I mean, it all makes sense in the context.
Yeah, and the New Order, and you know, we could just go on and on and on.
Except I want more guitar solos on the next record, right?
We have 1 guitar solo on 3 records.
Yeah, there's not much in there.
Actually, and it's only in the demo. The guitars,
really?
Yeah, the guitar solo. Thanks, Martin Atkins. Martin Atkins took the guitar solo part out. Well, you can hear the guitar solo, but it's over like a breakdown.
That's
part.
Funny.
Yeah, the song "Enemy."
Damn it, Martin.
Yeah, but if you go, you can find the demo.
I listened to him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
did that yesterday. I deep dive on the demos.
All right. So anyway, I've taken up over 2 hours of your time. So
no, I've taken up 2 hours of your time. I'm having good. Yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything. If anyone has any last minute questions in the chat, we covered pretty much everything. Let's end it with this. This is sort of kind of unrelated, but I've heard you bring it up in a couple of interviews, so I just kind of wanted to say it here. You always talk about the Sound City documentary.
Yeah.
Why you always talk about the Sound City documentary? And then I'm going to relate that back to me.
Okay. The reason I do is because the first time I watched it, and you've heard me say all this shit.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, you know, to me, it was mourning the loss of sort of this analog environment, and it was sort of vilifying moving into the digital world, and it was all that stuff. And that's how I watched it the first time.
Yeah.
You know, which didn't sit right with me really, because we did records. You know, by the way, the first Gravity Kills record was tracked at 2 inch as well. So, but as hard as we worked on records, that didn't sit well with me necessarily, because felt like, yeah, there are people that use technology as a crutch, and they make the point that there's some people maybe doing music that shouldn't be doing music or whatever. But you know what? They have the tool and they're doing it, and que sera, sera, right? So, so the second time I watched it, I saw it differently. They weren't, to me at that point, they weren't mourning the migration from an analog world to a digital world. They were mourning what stood out to me was mourning the loss of the process.
Like a band playing together in a room.
Making a record together. And it doesn't necessarily have to be set up like Gravity Kills. We would have stuff set up in another room, but sometimes maybe Matt's working on a guitar part and we just suss stuff out. And maybe Matt and I would both have guitars, and it was that thing. It was a collaboration that was going on. There was, you know, we were committed to the process of making the best record that we could, as opposed to, we didn't use technology as a shortcut. You know,
Right.
We used technology as an enhancement to our ability to make records and make noise that we couldn't otherwise make if that technology didn't exist. And that's what I took from Sound City afterwards was, yeah, they're fucking right. Like, I want to be in a band.
Yeah.
You know, there's the most gratifying thing in the world to me is coming up with an idea, getting with a group of people, pushing that idea, you know, into the right place collectively, you know, making those dominoes fall in the right, experimenting, getting feedback, having people, there's guardrails, having people push you over the guardrails. And that's what I took from that documentary was, you know, I feel bad if, you know, there's some people making some great music on their laptop by themselves in their
That's
bedroom
me.
somewhere.
But
Okay.
out of necessity, I can't afford a
Right.
studio.
Well, I mean, look, and that's what I do here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So like I'm in a house and that's what I do. But there's nothing more gratifying.
Everyone's
to
like,
me.
"Where's your studio?" I'm like, "This is my studio."
Yeah, I'm shaking.
Yeah. Uh-oh. You shook it and you muted yourself, or I muted you. I'm not sure. What happened? Oh, you disconnected your mic. No. It says can't their mic isn't connected. Oh no, we lost Jeff. There's no audio for you. Can you hear me? Yeah. That's why you need engineers. No. Wait. Nope. Do you have to hit the microphone? You might have settings in the program. Nope. Uh-oh.
There we
There
are.
we go. Yeah. It's kind of funny.
There you go. So anyway, that's the thing. For me, it's more gratifying to make music with other people, even if I'm not in the same room with them. Like, that's why, like, you know, I bounce texts with the other guys, send them ideas. They'll go, hey, try this, try that. That's what's, you know, and again, that's why I keep mentioning that movie, because I think it makes a very, I think in a world of social media, and look, without technology, I don't get to, you know, I don't see you. We've never met. We wouldn't be doing this. So technology is great.
Right.
But there's something to be said for being in the same room with somebody, trying to figure it out.
Energy, like we were talking about. There's an energy there.
Yeah, and you can gain momentum off from other people, and you can, and then when you really feel it, or you finish, like, this is a moment that Matt and I had. We'll kind of end it with this.
Mm-hmm.
We were finishing the last record, and we were still a song short, so we wrote a song here. We wrote it, recorded it, produced it, mixed it in 3 days, which seems like an eternity compared to Van Halen making a record in 3 days.
Or the Beatles made a first record in a couple hours.
Right. So we added this, when we go into the chorus, there's a second part of the chorus, and John Farrar was like, "Hey, do a harmony there." So, so I went over to the piano, kind of banged something out real quick, and then walked over to the mic, and we kind of did this thing. And it was, John was like, "Oh, it's kind of a Beatles thing you just did." I was like, "Yeah, you're right. I didn't mean to do that, but yeah, this is a very Beatles thing." And then we were mixing the song every fucking time. Like, it was just one of those little moments that, like, everybody was like, "Yeah, that was fucking really good." And I don't know why I remember that particular moment. Or when we were doing the song Never, that chorus, we were just sussing things out, and that chorus just came out. I just started singing it.
It's catchy as fuck.
And those guys were in the control room 2 floors up from where I was, and I hear all of a sudden running down the stairs. Like, it had stopped. I didn't hear anybody, and they all ran in the room and basically just tackled me, and they were hugging me, and and those are the kinds of moments that you just don't have.
Yeah.
When you're not, and the gratification you get from that, because it's so, as you know, as a musician, you talked about this, and we're going to take this full circle.
Mm-hmm.
When you and I first started talking, you're like, "Yeah, I'm in this place where, I just half finish things, and because I don't know if they're good or bad or whatever it is."
Oh, I know it's good. It's just
right.
Finishing it is
and it's hard, and because you don't have anybody else going, "Hey, this is awesome," and maybe they're pulling you at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You've been pulling them to a point, and then somebody else pulls, somebody's pushing, and that's what collaboration is. Whether you're a musician or whatever it is, you're building a bridge or whatever it is, and so that's why I keep mentioning that movie, because I think it's
a great doc.
That's what's important to me that's where I get, I'm not a solo artist.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't just, I could sit and bang out some stuff here and it'd be okay. Some of it may be really good. Some of it might completely suck. I don't fucking know. I have no perspective, right?
Right.
So that's what I think that being in a band gives you. It gives you perspective. It gives you, if you're in a good band with real people, they will be honest with you. And, and they'll tell you what you need to hear as opposed to what you want to hear. Sometimes they'll tell you what you want to hear, but only when they've affirmed it to themselves. Like, it becomes self-affirmed. Then that, and that's what Gravity Kills was for me. It was with a group of guys that could be honest with me and push me in places that I'd never been in a band like Gravity Kills before. And so I was more like I had just come out of, like, I was listening to a lot of, like, it'd be like Stone Roses and Jesus Jones and, sort of maybe some of those kinds of bands of the late 80s, very Anglophile place for me. Renegade Soundwave. Have you ever heard of them?
No, I don't know.
You should deep dive on them.
All right, Renegade Soundwave.
Yeah. And so it was like, and by the way, Perversion, that name came from a Jesus Jones album called Perverse.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So anyway, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Nice. Well, here's how I'm going to tie it together for me. Here's what's not in the documentary. Is the band that I'm in now, Green Jelly, recorded their album at Sound City Studios. And it's not mentioned at all. 1993.
93, yeah. I mean,
92, maybe late 92.
Right.
Danny Perry's on drums.
Maynard's
the voice of the Pigs.
In their fucking in that studio's heyday.
And then
that was their second heyday.
Yeah. And
right.
you know,
Post
they did
Nevermind.
right. Just post Nevermind, yeah.
Right.
And then related to that, Tool did their first couple records there. Weezer, Pinkerton, you know, like holy shit. I never got to be there. I mean, I was too young. I wasn't in the band then.
Yeah.
But there should be a deleted scene in that documentary about Green Jelly. And you can see me again with
There you
Green
go.
Jelly, May 3rd, New York City Boat Show with the Tool tribute band. So that really ties it all together. Danny Carey, everything, you know. And you said you played at the Continental in Buffalo?
We did.
That's where they started out in the early 80s.
Dude,
Them and the Goo Goo Dolls.
Talk about a shithole.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, but everybody played there.
Right. That was the
it's
place,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's right. You know, name the room in whatever town, you know, like, you know, that was in Buffalo. If you played Buffalo early in, you know, until you got bigger, that's where you played. And yeah, it was a punk rock room.
You played both the Continentals.
We did.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Right. But the Continental in New York, that was, you had to go down. It was down underground.
No.
I think so.
I don't think so. No, not when I was there. Oh, maybe for backstage area, but the
I
stage
think
was on
maybe
the
that
first
was it.
level.
I think that was it. Yeah. I think that's why I remember that. But.
Maybe. Yeah. There was probably a downstairs area. So yeah, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much. Let's see what else I got. Oh yeah, working on my documentary. You saw a trailer for it in the beginning. Here's my next show next week. Just check it out. Nobody, you know, she's not famous or anything, but
neither am I.
Oh, you're a lot more famous than she is. But it's going to be another fascinating. You know, I just want to talk to cool people on here, whether they're famous or not or whatever. And then another one, if you want to get really cult bands, the O, man, Michael D, he'll be on the show. And then if you like Guar, I got a whole show about Guar. That's going to be on Wednesdays. And that's pretty much all I got. Check out my band Pop Perversion, unrelated to the Gravity Kills record, Perversion. Hey, when you get a new song,
unrelated to the Urban Decay Perversion line of cosmetics, which was named after Gravity Kills, by the way.
Really? Oh,
that's right.
Do they have any silver? Because I'm looking for some silver.
They might. I don't know. The initial color that we had was like a blue black.
Did you wear makeup or?
No, I didn't.
No.
But
Okay.
no, I didn't. But you know, I think Doug rocked some eyeliner, but he was the only one in the band that did. But but he never took it off, so it just took on its own kind of sort of fucked up, like more of a Robert Smith thing.
Well, check out the Guar Pod, April 10th, and then I got one of the original guitar players at Guar's coming on in May, so check it out. It's gonna be cool. Hey, when you get a new song, let me do a remix.
Right on.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where everything goes. I mean, things are looking good, though. I mean, the guys are coming up with some cool stuff, and hopefully I am too. So we'll just figure it out as we go here.
Fucking awesome, dude. Well, if you book a show in New York, I'll be there.
All right, man.
Thank you so much. And that's it.
All right. Yeah, we'll be in touch for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
All right. Bye-bye. Hey, everyone, share, subscribe, comment below.
Like, share, subscribe.